Welcome to the Soulful Success by Design podcast. I'm Kendra Woods, your host and a former corporate healthcare executive turned entrepreneur. After battling burnout, I discovered the magic of human design. As a 6'2" splenic projector, I am here to lead you on a journey of self-discovery, self-mastery, and unstoppable growth. So join me as we dive into the world of human design, mindset, energetics, and aligned success. We will talk about the highs and the lows of creating soulful and meaningful success in your life and business on your terms. Are you ready? Let's dive in. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Soulful Success by Design podcast. I am your host, Kendra Woods, and I'm excited to be back here with you again, recording another episode to take you deeper on this journey and discovery of human design, and in particular, your own unique human design. So before we dive into today's episode, I want to share something with you. I want to know if you are a driven entrepreneur, coach, consultant, or business owner striving for six-figure success. If you are, then I definitely want to make you aware of an exclusive VIP day that I created just for you. It's called my Six Figures by Design VIP Day. And on this day, what we do is we dive deep into your human design and your gene keys, unveiling your innate strengths and really mapping out a personalized strategy for your business growth. So during this immersive experience, we dig into your human design, aligning your business offerings and messaging with your unique blueprint for success. So I want you to picture you unlocking us together, unlocking your innate strengths, ensuring that your business resonates with impact and your income goals that are crafted uniquely for you. So by the end of your VIP day, you're going to walk away with so many amazing insights. You're going to walk away with strategies that are aligned specifically for you. And you'll have a customized soulful success business blueprint in your hands that you will be able to go back to over and over again as you are moving forward on your entrepreneurial journey. So this isn't about just discovering your potential. It's really about building a roadmap to help you realize it. So if you are eager to make 2024 the year of immense growth, impact, and profitability for yourself, then this VIP day is really a perfect match for you. So I want to invite you to get in touch with me over on Instagram. All you got to do is connect with me at Soulful Success by Design. Send me a private message with the words VIP Day, and I will send you back all the details and information so that you can make an informed decision as to whether or not this is for you. The other thing that I want to share that is really exciting is this month, I want to go ahead and ask you to get ready for our holiday sale that is featuring 3 of my top courses. So definitely keep your eyes open and glued to my Instagram feed, and also stay tuned here to the podcast because I will be talking about it during this month when the details drop and when the special pricing comes out. You really do not want to miss out on this. And it is a great way to gift yourself the gift of self-discovery, personal development, human design alignment, and really setting yourself up for success for the new year. It's going to be absolutely epic and amazing. All right. Now, let's get into our conversation and our discussion today. So today, we're going to be talking about and going on a journey of understanding the 9 centers that make up your human design body graph. Now, in order to honor the time that I desire to spend on these episodes and keeping them at least 30 minutes, this is going to be a 2-part episode. So in the first part, today, I'm going to be walking you through 4 of the centers, and then part 2 will walk you through the last 5 centers. So this is where things get really juicy when it comes to your human design and when you want to assess your energetic strengths and vulnerabilities. So a reminder to go grab your chart if you don't have it, or if you're driving or out and about and you're listening to this, take a listen. And then when you get back to a place where you can get your chart, then you can listen to this again and make notes. So one of the things that in my world, when I think about the centers, I like to call the centers portals. So you'll hear me say centers, you may hear me say portals. I'm talking about your human design, the centers in your body graph. And so I call them either portals of wisdom or your portals of power. Now, the portals of wisdom are your undefined centers. These are the centers on your body graph that are white. And then your portals of power are your defined centers. These are the colored in centers on your chart. So if you hear me say portals, just know that I'm also talking about centers because I do have some of my own language around that. So let's talk about first, like an introduction to your human design portals or centers. So when you're looking at your body graph, you're going to see 9 centers. They're shapes, right? So they look like triangles, squares. And when I first pulled my chart for the first time, I looked at it and I thought, what the heck is this? Like, it looked like Greek, right? I didn't understand all the different shapes and centers and all of that. So whether your centers are defined or undefined will tell you a lot about yourself, right? It determines your human design frequency. And each of these centers or portals has its own energetic theme and way of expressing itself. Now, the definition or the openness of your chart really reveals to you your strengths and your vulnerabilities and where you're most likely to have conditioning, right? Where you are maybe conditioned to believe you are someone you are not. And now these portals and centers or centers provide you with so much information into who you are, what you feel challenged around, and what your gifts might be. And as I said earlier, each of these centers or portals possesses or processes a different kind of energy. So I know, like in the beginning episodes, I talked a lot about, type, strategy, and authority. We haven't gotten to profile yet, but the big 3, your type, strategy, and authority are very important for you to, of course, understand and begin to embody, begin to play with, begin to experiment. And then your centers are like that next phase that can really help, create an even clearer picture of how energy flows through you, of how you are designed to express the energy that is flowing through your body. And so as we look at these 9 centers, it's important to note a few things that I want to bring to your attention. Now, 4 of the portals or centers are what we call motors. So, and I'm going to let you know what those are. So the 4 motors are your sacral center, which is the center that is a second from the bottom, your root center, which is the center at the very bottom, the bottom square of your chart, the emotional solar plexus, which is the center that's to the right of your chart. It looks like a triangle on its side. And then the will center, and the will center sits just above your emotional solar plexus. So now all 4 of those centers are motors. And what that means is that being motors, it means that they generate energy and they operate in a very particular way. And so as we're going through and talking about each of the portals, I'll share with you a little bit. I'll remind you of which ones are the motors and what that means for that particular portal or center. Now, in addition to this, there are 3 awareness centers that you want to know about as well. And the 3 awareness centers are your ajna center, which is the second square from the top. So it's the upside down square, triangle, the upside down triangle. And then you have your spleen center, which is on the left side of your chart. It is a triangle on its side, on the left side. And then you have the emotional solar plexus, which is on the other side. And it also looks like a triangle on its side as well. And so your spleen center is all about body consciousness. It's focused on the survival of the body and survival intelligence. That's the awareness that that center brings for you. The awareness of the ajna center is all around mind consciousness, and it's focused on it's focused on mental intelligence. And then your emotional solar plexus is spirit consciousness that is focused on awareness, and emotional awareness, if you will. And each of these centers focuses on like a different kind of awareness, as you can say, different type of consciousness. And so knowing these things, I won't go deep into like what this looks like or how this plays out, but I wanted to make you aware of the motors and also make you aware of the different awareness centers. So when you are looking at your body graph, you're going to have some of the centers or portals that are undefined. And what that means for you is they're white, right? They're white spaces on your chart. Where you are undefined, it is important to know that in those spaces, you are receiving and amplifying the energies that are external of you. So you are taking in the energy of the world, you are sampling it, you're receiving it, and you are amplifying that energy. You're making it bigger. Now, where you are defined, where you have defined portals or centers, this is where you are broadcasting energy out, right? So I want you to think of like a cell phone tower, right? Like it is broadcasting signals out all over the place. That is what your defined centers are also doing. And so take a look at your chart and go ahead and make note of where you are defined, which of your portals are defined, which of your portals are undefined, because that does play a role in how you express the energy, the energetic theme of that particular center. So when we're going through, as we're talking about each of the centers, I'm going to be sharing with you the gifts of, if it's defined or if it's undefined. So I'm going to give you both sides of each of the portals or centers. Okay. So now that we have a bit of background, a little bit of understanding about the centers, let's dive into the first 4 centers and really explore the energetic themes of each of the centers and what the energy that they hold is. Okay. Okay, so starting with the head center. So the overall theme here for the head center is around inspiration, ideas, questions, and it's also a pressure center. So it's mental pressure that you find here in the head center. Now, the head center is filled with ideas, it's filled with inspiration, it's filled with questions, but it is not filled with answers. Okay. Inspiration isn't about trying to figure things out, right? It is about allowing your head center to engage with your imagination, to engage with possibility. So the center is all about asking questions to the universe and then allowing the answers to come to you instead of you trying to force a solution, instead of you trying to figure out, what that answer is. It is surrendering these questions, surrendering these thoughts that you have and enjoying that they're there, and then leaning back and knowing that you will receive the answers, you will receive the guidance as you are operating in a space of surrender instead of force. So let's talk about the gifts of the defined head center or portal. The defined head center makes up about 30% of the population. So 30% of the population has a defined head center. Okay. So if you have a defined head center, what you want to know is that you are a source of information and inspiration. You are broadcasting your information. You are broadcasting your inspiration. You have consistent access to your mind and your way of thinking. And you also know what you think. So when we think about a defined center, the energy in a defined center it's static, right? It is you, it is what it is. It's very much static. And so with your head center being defined, you have a very specific way in which you think. You have a very specific way in which you take in information. You have a very specific way in which you are inspired, and you are designed to share that with the world. You are designed to broadcast that information and that inspiration out into the world to those of us like myself who have an undefined head center to help us tap in to information and inspiration. Okay. Now, 70% of the population has an undefined head center. And so what this means for you is you have flexibility in how you think. So if you think about the defined center, remember I said it's the energy there is very much, it's static. It is what it is. It's fixed. With an undefined head center, you've got flexibility there, right? You're able to take people and information in at a really deep mental level. You have the ability with an undefined head center to really still your mind. So meditation is probably something that works really, really great for you. And you find that with practice, you're able to drop into that meditative state. It's interesting because I have an undefined head center, and meditation has been a practice of mine for well over 10 years now. And it's something that, because I've been doing it for so long, I can just drop into that meditative state so quickly. Now, my husband, on the other hand, he has a defined head center. So getting him to like really sit down and meditate, like it's not something that comes as easy to him. It doesn't mean if you have a defined head center that you shouldn't meditate or you can't meditate. It's just that it may not come as easy, but it's still an amazing practice. So for those of you who have an undefined head center, being able to still your mind is such a beautiful gift that you have. You are also here to explore human consciousness. So because your head center is undefined, remember, like this is fluid energy. So you're here to really explore and sample different ways of thinking, right? Different ways of tapping into inspiration, different ways of different information, right? You have a curiosity about you that just wants to learn, that just wants to take in the information around you. Okay. And that is a great thing, because what that allows you to do is become wise about information, to become wise about what is inspiring, what is important to actually pay attention to, and what you can let go of. All right. Okay, moving along to the Ajna Center. So the Ajna Center sits right below the head center. And the theme of the Ajna Center is that it's the processor of information. So it's the center for concrete thinking, beliefs, data processing, storage, and analysis. So now the Ajna Center, or the mind, you'll sometimes hear us refer to the Ajna Center as the mind, is where we hold our belief systems and our information. This center is meant for awareness. It's meant for processing information and not for decision making. That is where your authority, that's what your authority is for. And so I know that you've heard me say in previous episodes that decisions do not come from the head. Now, a lot of us have been conditioned to operate from a space of feeling like we need to think about it, or we need to do a pros and cons list. We've been conditioned to make decision making very intellectual, if you will. But what human design teaches you is that your decision making process is in the body, right? And we talked about on the last episode, we talked about the different authorities. So if you haven't listened to episode number 7, I believe it is, we talked about the different authorities. And so go back and listen to that, because that your authority guides you into how you best make decisions, and it takes you out of your head and into your body with how you are designed to make decisions. So a defined Ajna Center, we've got 47% of the population that has a defined Ajna Center. And what this means for you is that you have this amazing ability to really rest in your certainty. Okay, a defined Ajna Center is very certain about what it thinks. It's very certain about what it believes. I love to listen to podcasts, right? And I can almost tell consistently when I'm listening to somebody who has a defined ajna, because you will hear them say a lot, I believe, I believe, I believe, I believe, I believe, right? Because they have a really set way and a certainty about their beliefs. With a defined Ajna Center, you can count on your mind to hold and process information. So taking in information and being able to hold on to it is a strength of yours with a defined Ajna. You're able to, if you're that person, like for example, again, my husband has a defined Ajna. My youngest daughter has a defined Ajna. And my other daughter also has a defined ajna. And it's interesting to me how they are able to like pull information. And my youngest daughter said to me one time, she said, Mom, she's like, I feel like I have like these different files in my head. And when I need to remember something, I just pull that file and bring it to the front of my mind and I remember it. And I just kind of laughed because I thought, yeah, that's exactly correct. You have a defined ajna. I can totally see how your brain works that way. You enjoy mental stimulation if you have a defined ajna center, and you're able to stand your ground mentally. And what this means for you is that you are not easily influenced by the thought of others. All right. And if you notice, I want to point out something really quick here. I am just solely focusing on the gifts of each of these portals or centers. There's definitely a shadow side to this, but for this episode and for the next one, I just really wanted to focus on the gifts. I want to bring you into I want to speak to your potential, right? I want to speak to the empowered uh, version of you that is within. So define Ajna Center. You stand your ground mentally. You're not easily influenced by the thoughts of others. It doesn't mean that you aren't open to hearing what other people are saying, what the other people's thoughts are. You're definitely can be willing and open to that, but you're not easily swayed in what you believe and what you think is correct. Now, the undefined ajna represents 53% of the population. So if you have an undefined ajna, you're designed to be wise about what to process. You're designed to be wise about what it is that you're meant to process. You have the ability to process information in a variety of different ways. So as your head center is funneling down all these, information and inspiration into your ajna, you're kind of like going through this, your ajna is going through this process of like decluttering, really paying attention to what is important to pay attention to and letting go of all the other stuff, right? Really becoming wise about what information is going to be useful for you. You have a brilliant mind with the flexibility to engage in possibilities. So one of the things that I love, I have an undefined ajna. One of the things that I love is that with this undefined ajna, you're able to really tap into all the different perspectives that are available. So if you're a person that has your ajna undefined, you're probably really good at, seeing both sides of the story. You're really good at being able to see all the different perspectives. And from those different perspectives, you're able to pull out what is important and what is meaningful and move with that. All right. So people who have undefined ajnas are really great at, conflict resolution, helping people to see things from a different perspective, helping folks see like the bigger picture, helping people to entertain, a different possibility, a different way of thinking, a different way of believing, right? Okay, let's move to the throat center. So the throat center, the energetic theme here is about manifestation and articulation. So when we are looking at the body graph, and we have all these different centers or portals on the body graph, all of the energy is trying its best to make its way to the throat center. So we can kind of think of like the throat center as like the town square, right? All of the energy wants to get there because through the throat center is where you're able to manifest in the form of like articulation through language, right? It's where you're able to put words to your thoughts, words to your inspiration, words to the energy that's moving through you. So when it comes to communication and manifestation, it's the same thing because words have power to manifest, right? So the throat also houses what you would call maybe like, a gearbox that regulates your energy for doing. So you also want to be careful here though, because there is a potential for a burnout in the throat if you are not following your strategy and authority. So there's definitely some nuance there. So let's get to the defined center. So if you have a defined throat center, you're about 72% of the population. So the majority of the population has a defined throat center. And what this means for you is that you have consistent access to your voice and the way that you communicate. Now, depending on what your throat is connected to, will inform you of what your voice is here to communicate about. Like, for example, my daughter, her throat is defined and it's connected to her spleen. And it's connected to her spleen and her ajna. So when she communicates, like, she's quite literally here to speak her mind, right? She's also here to intuitively like know what to say, to really put voice and language to her instincts, right? Now, there's definitely some nuance to that because she is a projector. So it's about, there is some timing that is important here. And really, for anyone who has a defined throat center, outside of, I would say, a manifester, there is an element of timing, of being really mindful of the right time to communicate, right? Being, as a projector, being invited in to share what you were communicating. So just because you have a defined throat center doesn't mean that you're here to just be throwing your voice all over the place, because that can actually lead to burnout. So the defined throat can be heard best when you enter into speaking using your strategy. With your defined throat, you have a gift of being present with a level of confidence in your voice. And what I mean by that is, because you always have access to your voice, like, you have this confidence in speaking. You're never really like lost for words. Okay. I have an undefined throat center. And it's interesting because sometimes I have no idea what I'm going to say until it comes out of my mouth. But for those of you that have a defined throat center, you have a very consistent way in which you communicate, and you have access to your words. Okay. So a gift of the defined throat center is that you can be great in public speaking because you're consistent in how you express yourself, which can lead to like this level of charisma and influence that exudes from you when you are using your voice. Okay. Now, if you have an undefined throat center, you represent 28% of the population. And so with your undefined throat center, your lack of definition here can actually be a gift for you, in that your throat can be used as a channel. Okay. And so, like you just heard me say a few moments ago, that sometimes I don't know what is going to come out of my mouth or what is going to be communicated. And that's kind of, in the same, vein of channeling. You don't really know what's going to come out of your mouth. You just allow the words to flow. And that can feel a little scary. And it does require you to develop a sense of trust in your voice. With an undefined throat center, you're able to energetically connect with people with your voice because you can speak to what is most needed. You're able to vary your speaking. You can speak for the group as a whole. So with an undefined throat center, you're able to hear what everyone is saying, and you're able to mirror it back and refine what people are sharing. And in myself, I notice this in my coaching when I'm working with clients. I'll often say, okay, what I just heard you say is, and I am refining it and saying it back to them and mirroring it back to them in a different way, so that they can gain a deeper understanding of what they said, and so that it then bridges us off into questions or exploration into what's next. I've found myself doing this often, like when I hear people talking or communicating, and for me, it's more like within my family, right? I'll hear folks communicating, and maybe one individual is kind of getting frustrated because they're like, I don't understand what you're saying, or, I feel like you're saying XYZ. And I'm able to come in with an undefined throat center and say, okay, here's what I believe is being said. Right. And that is where the wisdom of having an undefined throat center comes in. You become really wise about your communication. You become wise about how to best communicate. So you can put yourself in spaces with different people. And with this wisdom of your undefined throat center, like how to speak to that audience, right? You're very much aware of the audience around you and how to speak to that audience. Okay. The undefined throat center is very much magnetic. So when you're not acting like you have a defined throat center and you're not out there pushing yourself into the world to be recognized and defined, then your throat center can really act like a magnet to attracting the right people to you. So if you have an undefined throat center, I want you to practice just resting your voice, right? Practice resisting the urge to feel like you have to say something. And in like your silence as an undefined throat center is very magnetic. Your silence is powerful. It doesn't mean you're silencing your voice. It doesn't mean that you're not speaking your voice. It's that you become very much aware of the power of your voice to the point that you know exactly when it's time to speak and when it's not time to speak. You know exactly how to, articulate things in a way that many different people can understand. Okay. All right, let's move on to the G center. So the G center, and this will be our last center that we will get into on this episode. So the G center, the theme here is all about self-love, direction in life, and identity. So in human design, this is where your magnetic monopole is. So, and I know that's kind of like a mouthful, but your magnetic monopole sits in your G center, and it's a magnet that attracts everything to you. And it's the seat of your soul. Okay. So the G center, 57% of the population has the G center defined. And so what this means for you is that the gifts that you have is you have a solid sense of self. Because the G center, again, remember, is about identity. So you have a solid sense of self, which allows you to really display this beautiful, authentic self-expression, right? And you will often radiate this sense of inner peace and contentment because your identity isn't swayed by external influences. Okay. And this authenticity that you carry with you can attract others who appreciate the genuineness that you carry. You also have a consistent direction and life purpose. That is a gift for you with the defined G center. So those of you that have this center or portal defined, you have a clear understanding of what you want to achieve and the path that you wish to pursue. This clarity really contributes to a more consistent and stable sense of purpose that, really helps to guide your decisions and actions towards fulfilling your life's calling. So again, I'm going to give you an example here. So I have an undefined G center. My husband has a defined G center. So his direction in life has been very much, set for a very long time. And so he is in the military, Air Force, and he is on the civilian side. He is a fireman. And this has been his career for well over 20 years at this point, I believe. He's almost at the point of retiring. But he knew right after high school, he decided that, okay, I'm going to go into the military. Went into the military, decided that he was going to be a fireman, and that's what he did. And that has been his trajectory his whole entire life. He's been in the military, doing firefighting work. He's been in the civilian world doing the same thing. And he just has this sense of direction about himself. I, on the other hand, with an undefined G center, my direction's kind of been a little all over the place, right? I've been in the restaurant industry. I've been in the real estate industry. I've been in the healthcare industry. I've been in the executive recruiting industry. Now I'm in the coaching industry. And so as you can see, the clear difference between someone with a defined G center and someone with an undefined G center, how that pathway of direction can look, okay? The last gift here that I want to share around having a defined G center is your ability to really, radiate this magnetism. And I've kind of alluded to this earlier, because you have this strong sense of self, you have this magnetic presence about you. People are drawn to this. There's this charisma. There's this like trustworthiness about you. There's this groundedness, this consistency in your energy that people really love. And for you, it is all about, again, like self-expression. You also know with the defined G center, because love is also found here, you have this deep sense of knowing that you are lovable. Okay. If you do not have, if you're listening to this and you're like, and you have a defined G center and you're like, yeah, I don't know about that. That is the not self-speaking, that's conditioning speaking, because at your core with a defined G center, like you don't question the fact that you are lovable as you are, that's not something that is up for debate. So with an undefined G center, the undefined G center represents 43% of the population. So you are designed to be very wise about direction and love. And let me just say this, you're going to notice that with undefined centers, I talk about wisdom a lot, because where you are undefined is where wisdom lies, right? This is why I call the undefined centers portals of wisdom. And you become wise here because your openness, your lack of definition here exposes you to so many different variables as it pertains to the energies around you. So here we're talking about the G center. So you've had so many different experiences of direction, right? I've had a ton of experiences in different careers that has allowed me to become very wise about direction, about purpose, right? I can talk about the pitfalls. I can talk about the mountaintops and all the things in between, and share the nuance, right? And really help bring that wisdom to the table through my lived experience. With an undefined G center, you also have this ability to be very much adaptable, meaning your openness to experiencing like different identities and perspectives allows you to understand and relate to a wide range of people. And so what I like to say here is, if you have an undefined G center, we could literally take you and put you in, many different rooms with different people. And you have this chameleon-like nature where you are able to shift your identity to what it needs to be for the room that you're in. Right. And sometimes we know this about ourselves and we think that we are, we think it's a bad thing, right? I remember speaking to a client one time and telling her, because she had an undefined G center, that she had this chameleon-like quality about her with this undefined G center. And she was like, oh gosh, like, that we hear that and we there's such a negative connotation around that. And that's not a bad thing. What that means is like you were able to really clearly see the identity of another person because of your openness there, which means you're able to connect with individuals at a soul level in a way that someone with an in a way that someone with a defined center, G center, is not able to do, right? So one is not better than the other, right? It's not a bad thing if you're undefined. It's not a bad thing if you're defined, and vice versa. It's just that the way that the energy operates is different. And however you are configured, it's about really embracing how your energy works in these different portals or centers. Okay. What I love here too with this identity piece is really giving yourself permission to try on different identities, right? Like it's okay. You want to do that so you can become really clear also and wise about authentic self-expression. With an undefined G center, you can really tell right off the bat, like who is being authentic in how they are expressing themselves and who is maybe overcompensating and being over the top because they're trying to attract energy or they're trying to make people think that they are a certain way. Okay. What else? The evolution here is amazing, right? So you also have the ability to evolve and integrate various aspects of identity, allowing for different experiences around your personal development and self-discovery. So you become this multifaceted individual with an undefined G center, and that's an amazing gift to really own and accept. All right. Okay. So we made our way through 4 of the 9 centers or portals in this episode. And so in episode 9, we're going to explore the remaining 5. So if you have questions up to this point about what we discussed today, I want to invite you to send me a DM over on Instagram. I'm at Soulful Success by Design, let me know what your questions are. I would love to bring your questions here on the podcast and answer them even on Instagram. And understand that when we are, again, like this is, I'm sharing like very like black and white information around the centers or the portals. The nuance really comes in when you are able to work with a professional who understands human design, because there is nuance to this. But before we can really dive into the nuance, it is important to understand like the basic like information and structure. So know that there's nuance to this. And if you are wanting to really tap into like the nuance of your design, that's where I would encourage you to book a human design reading. You can book one with me or book one with your favorite human design person, but that's where you can really get some personalized insight for yourself. If you have any colleagues or friends or clients who could benefit from hearing today's episode, I invite you to share it with them. Let them take a listen. Okay. So thank you so much for listening today. Stay tuned for the next episode that will drop later this month on the 21st. We're going to dive into the other 5 centers. Also, don't forget to grab your free gift. I have my Alignment by Design guidebook. And in this guidebook, you find detailed information on your purpose by human design type, an understanding of your internal power by type, and also soul-aligned journal prompts to support you in your alignment. So I will link all the things in the show notes. I'll also put a link for you to for you to print off your human design chart if you haven't done that. I'll put a link for you to book in a human design reading if you choose to. And I'll share also more information about the VIP day. I'll have that link there where you can just instantly click it and get in touch with me over on Instagram if you're interested in the one last spot that I have available for the 6 Figures by Design VIP day. So thank you so much for listening. Please, we would love it if you would leave us a review. We would love it if you would share your thoughts on the podcast. This is a great way to help us get this message out there and to get more people listening. So this is Kendra with Soulful Success by Design. Go out there and create success from your soul on your terms. Until next time.